Welcome to the I Know a Guy podcast. On this episode, we're going to change things up just a little bit because I don't have a guest. I've just got producer Jake in the house, and today we're going to talk about NIL high school. The state of Florida yesterday passes some legislation, if I can call it that allows for student athletes to be compensated in the state of Florida. And this one, I've got an opinion about, Jake.
All right, let's hear it.
You really care?
Deeply.
So, background, I coached high school basketball for 15 years in the state of Florida. Been around the high school sports for over 20 years, all kinds of sports from coaching to public address announcing. And I have a real appreciation for the real genuineness of team and sport and competing together. So I actually have a huge problem with this entire thing, and I'd be interested to know why it was supported, backed. It was a unanimous decision. It was supported 9-0 by the board of directors for the Florida High School Athletic Association. I think people need to understand what this does and what the policy says. And the first one that I want to get to is under Policy 9.9 of the Florida High School Athletic Association recognizes the importance of maintaining amateurism in high school athletics. Strike through anybody? Not really. Because I thought the definition of being amateur is not being a pro is you're not compensated. Like if I'm a photographer and I take pictures, I'm just an amateur. I just do it for fun. The moment I start selling my pictures, I'm kind of a professional, right? People buy them, they like them. So the moment you start getting compensated because you play a sport, I don't think you're an amateur anymore. Now, what the policy here is trying to say, though, is that if you get compensated, it is possible that you are jeopardizing your eligibility standard to other organizations like the NCAA or NAIA or the National Junior College Athletic Association. So they're saying consult your legal counsel and get tax advice. Now, that's a real good CYA for the FHSAA, and I understand that. And if I'm speaking too quickly, I'm saying FHSAA, which is the Florida High School Athletic Association, which governs high school sports of private schools and public schools for different sports in the state of Florida. And so I realize there's this whole national movement toward NIL. And by the way, there are 30 other states who are doing this, which is also in the policy for some reason here. It just says, as of October 4th, 2023, 30 states and District of Columbia allow student athletes to compete. I don't think that information is relevant. I guess it's saying, hey, they're doing it, so it's okay that we're doing it. I think we should stand on our own in terms of, Florida should stand on its own when you're going to make a proposal and try to approve something. Just use information and facts to support it, and who cares what everybody else is doing. One of the things I see in this policy that's interesting, so you can't use, and this is what's going to be out there, right? You can't use your school's logo, your school name, and all that, unless you get permission from the school or the school district to use it. Right. That's what's about to happen. Here's the interesting thing about the policy, okay? And this is the part that gets me. Under subset, it's 9.9.4.5. Must not be used to recruit. NIL activities shall not be used to pressure, urge, or entice a student athletes to attend a school for the purpose of participating in interscholastic athletics. The NIL agreement shall not be used as a guise for athletic recruiting. Seriously? Like, that's what it's for. That's what it's about. Don't say it's not. Everything that they're doing in college right now with NIL has to do with recruiting. Who can get the most amount of money and bring in the best players? I don't know, Texas A&M? So to say this is not for recruiting, it's stupid. And the idea, and this is not directed at one person or one board member, but it's just I'm talking about the subject, that the idea that somehow if you use this for recruiting, the Florida High School Athletic Association is going to punish you, try it. Because I'm aware of a school in Central Florida that for years has paid kids or paid parents, moved parents into housing, provided jobs for them to get kids to go to that school. Okay, and I'm sure this has happened in other places across the state of Florida, and there's been nothing done because what happens? The FHSA says, hey, we've got a problem with that, and they go, yeah, well, we've got an attorney, and then nothing happens. So is this good for schools? It's horrible. It's horrible. And gone is it's about it's about the team. It's fighting for the name on the back of your jersey, which is usually your school name and not your personal name at the high school level. That's gone. What you have now is it's about me. Who can I get to sponsor me? What I'm worth and money. And I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible across the board. It's stupid. I know I read some stuff where some girl from a lacrosse, I think it was, had a sponsorship up in Maryland and a couple years ago, and the state of FHA denied it at the time. I think it ruins the sport. This isn't college. And they say, well, what's next? You just pay for everything? I mean, I'm just 100% against it. I think it's and I think heck, by the way, you're talking about a state where your football coaches make a $3,500 or $4,000 stipend for the entire year, right? That's to go to football practices from 3:30 to 5:30. Not to mention they were getting ready for practice prior to that, staying late to watch film, meeting with parents, going to try to help raise money for the program. These programs as a whole in the state of Florida don't even have enough money as it is to pay the referees. They're trying to pay the referees. They're trying to keep the lights on, pay for the uniforms, travel to games. And so what you're doing now is you're taking student athletes, potentially, right? The FHA is saying it's not... We don't think there's going to be a ton of it, right? But you're doing, so multiple things are happening. Now that athlete is going into the community trying to compete against the booster club who's trying to raise money just to support the program. Because this isn't the Florida Gators or the Miami Hurricanes who have millions of dollars coming in ticket sales. Some of these programs are not making it. They are upside down. Some of these programs are subsidized, by the way. Some of these programs are subsidized by the school districts just to give them some money to help pay for their programs. $1,500 for your varsity program or $1,000 for a junior varsity program to help a little bit because they don't make enough in ticket sales. But you got NIL now. That's crazy. Furthermore, talk about disparity. It's going to take programs in the state of Florida who are already in a way happening. If you look at some of the prep schools and or private organizations, private schools, not all private schools, that's not fair to say, not a broad stroke. The ones who have the deep pockets, yeah, they're going to be paying kids to come to their school. And there's nothing, zero, the Florida High School Athletic Association is going to do about it. And there's another thing in their policy that says something about not advertising. Let me find it. It said not political or social activities. You can't come to the school and do these things during your interscholastic activity. So if you're playing volleyball, you can't be wearing the shirt of the gas station that's sponsoring you.
At school?
During that activity. So if you're warming up on the court, you can't be wearing it. Maybe you can't wear an armband that says what that advertisement is or whatnot. And you can't have things that have political or social messages. Yeah. The Florida High School Athletic Association is going to enforce that one. I think the issue I have with is it's not level at all. It hasn't been for many, many years. I do think there's been efforts to try to. I don't think everybody deserves a participation trophy, but they did create like a rural district for rural schools that were smaller schools so they could compete, because what you had in the state of Florida years ago was the 1A or 2A small school teams that are your rural schools were competing against the private school that's got the guy from France who's 7'3" on their team, and they're getting their butt kicked by 65 points. So I'm not going to say they haven't tried to do some things, but I don't understand this one. I'm not understanding why it was important. Why couldn't you stand up and say, hey, we're not like 30 other states. We're different, and we're not supporting that this NIL takes place. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe somebody wants to come on and explain it to me, but I know a whole lot of people who think this is absolutely crazy, insane, and it's not going to go over well. Now, maybe someone who's getting money will feel differently, but I don't know how you don't ruin your amateur status by taking money to play, because that's what you're doing. I don't understand that.
Yeah, the recruiting angle sounds like a nightmare. I mean, especially in communities, in small communities where there's a lot of interest in how the local high school team's playing. We know of a guy who was going to go to I believe it's a private school, who was at the local public school here.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of pushback. We can edit that out, but
yep.
And imagine if a tire shop, a restaurant, a law firm, whatever, wants their private school to start winning games. That's when you you do the backdoor shady deals, and bring in the talent, like it's pro sports. It's all.
Shout out to Florida Times Union. Clayton Freeman did a great article, kind of tried to capture both sides. Thought the article didn't mention much opinion in terms of what they were writing, but offered just a good story that was sort of balanced. And I thought one of the great quotes was, by, let's see here, it was board member Paul Salvito, who's the chief financial officer of Community School of Naples. There's a lot of fear out there, and acknowledge that enforcing the regulations will be difficult. He says the schools don't have compliance departments. If the NCAA can't regulate it with thousands of employees, it's unreasonable to think schools or the association can. We're not equipped for that. Facts. The FHA hasn't been equipped for many, many years to enforce recruiting in schools. Period. Well, we do take it seriously. Yeah, but and it may be because they don't have the staff for it. I don't think it's an we're just not going to, we're going to look the other way. I think attorneys get involved, and I think they don't have the staff. They're understaffed, and so they don't have an enforcement mechanism that really goes after this stuff. So there's not going to be an equitable. That's one of the things in FHA, like when you read their scripts and stuff, because I've done public address announcing for years, an equitable, fair environment. No, not really. Nope, it's not fair. There's nothing fair about rolling up into it is what it is. It is the environment we have. But I've, as a coach, rolled up into a gym where a team, a private school, 3 major Division I athletes on their school. For people to understand what that means, okay? At the same time, you might get a major Division I player to come through your school every 10 years. You might get that in terms of that one sport. Hey, this was a major top-level player. In the basketball program I was a part of, we had, I would say, 2 that one went, I'd say 1 major, several into the mid-major level, okay? And no, it's not fair. So I don't know what they can do. I don't know what they're dealing with behind the scenes, but this was, to me, was an easy vote no, and it got 9-0 votes, right? It's going like, hey, no, we support this NIL thing. And even though, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what it's going to do, but we're going to support it. That makes 0 sense to me. Here's an idea. You ready? 30 other states are doing it. Let's sit back and watch what happens over the next 36 months, and let's come back later and make a decision that makes sense. How about that? You just told me you got 30 out there. Let them be your pilot. What does it look like? What are the mistakes they're making? And then come do it here. Instead, we go, we'll just move forward with it. I'm not a fan of it. I'll say this. The one thing that I can appreciate in the policy, the first one says you do need to talk to your tax accountant if you can afford one. You need to talk to your legal counsel if you can afford one, and determine if this impacts your ability to go to college. Are you a pro now? You are accepting money. And maybe there's a legal definition I don't understand, but I thought it was pretty simple. You get paid for something, you're a professional. Okay? Me, for example, I'm an amateur power washer. I power wash my house. You pay me, that's what I do for a living. I'm professional. Okay? These folks here, are you paying these kids for a living? You might be. You might be. And here's another one. You better have some tax advice. But the kids that don't have tax advice, that are taking $500 or $1,000 or $2,500 a year, whatever they're taking, they've got tax liability. Now, what happens to them? You get treated like a kid when you're 15 years old making money, or do you get treated like an adult when you don't pay your tax bill? I don't know. There's a lot to be uncovered here, but certainly, I'm pretty passionate about it because I thought as a coach, and this is what Nick Saban did. Nick Saban said, "I'm getting the hell out of here. This isn't what I signed up for." And for high school athletics, when you really are saying, hey, we're playing for this school, we're playing for the name on the back of your jersey, because your jersey doesn't say your name. I said that before, right? It's now about I, and it's about me. It's not about we anymore. It's about what I can. Well, there's not going to be that many out. Yeah, there are. There are going to be kids, not crazy money, but there are going to be kids who are getting money to represent their sport. It's going to confuse things. And now you have schools out there. You'll have kids that are representing the school wearing your jersey. You told them not to, right? You said, hey, you can't use our uniform for your little commercial over there. You going to stop them? You're not going to give them authorization? Because here's what that kid's doing. He's transferring to the school that's going to let him do it. So NIL, bad for Florida, and good luck to anybody who's still coaching. And also the coaches who make nothing to spend so much time out there. When you can't make any more than your stipend, your booster club's not supposed to pay you. I mean, Florida's got a major issue with coaches. That's why a lot of coaches will go right across the Florida-Georgia border and try and coach in Georgia. They make a lot more money than they do in Florida. So it's not good all the way around. That's my 5 cents.
I wonder. I think you might have alluded to this, but I wonder how much the style of play will change. Like I think about basketball. The style of play in a high school basketball, conference playoffs game is completely different from a summer AAU tournament basketball game, and that's because the players obviously have individual interests involved in AAU basketball games because there's plenty of scouts and whatnot from colleges looking at individual players. I mean, if a player is essentially getting paid to be super marketable, which more times than not is being aligned with talent, but in the day of social media, talent and hype aren't always tightly correlated.
Right.
So are we going to have a lot of 16, 17-year-old dudes jacking up threes for Bev's Burgers? Are they are we going to have a bunch of, remember that Julian Newsom kid that 5'5"? He basically played like a Harlem Globetrotter because he was making a lot of money through social media. I could see that being a big problem, a big cancer in high school sports.
That's the problem. I mean, right now, why did someone want to go play in front of Mike Krzyzewski or Billy Donovan, Tom Izzo at an AAU camp, play for Team Nike or Team Adidas? Because you got to play in front of these major coaches that will hopefully pick you up and put you on a stage that might get you to the NBA, right? Get you to that dream you're trying to get. And I wasn't really for the college NIL in the way that it's formed, but it's there and it is what it is. But the high school level was just crazy to me. I heard someone mention it a few months ago. I'm like, no way, really? They're thinking about that? That's crazy. It changes the dynamics. I just think once you're now the difference, I guess here they're trying to say is that, well, the school's not paying them. They're just able to use their name to get money, I guess, in the community to go, hey, I have a following on social media and now pay me. Guess what? Regular students who have a following on social media can do that. They could technically go, hey, sponsor me for something. I'm not sure what the difference is here because you're not supposed to use your jersey. You're not supposed to use the school logo. It's like, what's his name? DJ Lagway, right? Going to the University of Florida, or he's at UF. He just did a Gatorade commercial. He's totally not wearing any Gator stuff, right? He's wearing like purple helmet and purple uniform because it's, how Gatorade is. They throw athletes in other uniforms other than their own so they don't have to pay because they can't really wear those uniforms. Can't wear your Michael Jordan. They'll wear a different color, right? It's like Aflac, Deion Sanders is wearing white and blue, or you don't see Nick Saban wearing Alabama Crimson Tide. Aflac's not paying Alabama. That's Nick Saban's sort of deal. Got no problem people trying to make a living, make a better life for themselves. The issue I have here is there's zero way that it's going to be enforced. I'm not mad at a player for trying to better themselves or their family and making money. However, the opportunity they get, I'll give you an example. A kid being put on the campus at the University of Georgia, is put on a higher level to make more money and be seen than someone from, Anderson, South Carolina, playing for a Division II basketball school. So that school, that UGA, has built up many, many years of having a wonderful reputation of winning, being successful, getting rights to different, whether TV rights and stuff that had nothing to do with that athlete. But the athlete's going to reap the reward, but it's a give and take because that school wants that athlete to play for them so they can maintain that status and make money. The high school one, I'm not sure what this really does in terms of the kids and why it was necessary to approve it, other than to say, yeah, we do it. Florida is a huge sports state, especially athletics and football is huge in Florida and the South in general. I'm not sure. Was it so we can hold on to our athletes and they don't go transfer to another state and get NIL money there? Well, that's recruiting, because if that's the reason, is so our athletes don't go out of state elsewhere, then we were essentially trying to recruit our athletes back home with NIL money, which is exactly what the policy says we're not trying to do. So it's I won't beat a dead horse, but definitely not good, and certainly changes the game and stinks for coaches and players. It stinks for player number 5, 6, and 7 on the bench, 8 or 9 depending on the sport, 12, 13, 14, because I think there's something beautiful about playing for each other, playing as family, and playing as a team, because your motivation is to be one, and the motivation's not one anymore. The motivation's about me and the money I'm trying to make, and I'm trying to shine. Sorry, I just sat there and did TikTok videos right before practice while I was in the gym, because I'm trying to get my followers to watch me, right? It's not about our group anymore. It's about the individual, and I don't see why our society has a hard time saying no to these types of things, but right now we do. There's my thoughts. 5 cents, now 10 cents.
Yeah.
I'm at a dime.
If you were to summarize your biggest concerns, what's your biggest concern with the high school athletic end of this, and what's your biggest concern with the human, and they're not really, well, they are children, but child rearing, human aspect of this? Like what's bad for the kids, and what's bad for the sports aspect?
I think there's so much unknown. We know what happens at the pro level, right? We know what happens when a player's not getting his carries because he's trying to make a certain amount of money, right? Tom Brady comes in and throws that one last pass to Gronkowski so he can make that $1 million, right? That play was motivated by money. Now, he threw that ball to Gronkowski, which is one less play that he could throw the ball somewhere else to somebody else on the team. That's pro sports. That's my concern, is at the high school level, that organic beauty in playing for each other and being a unit, to me, goes out the door when it becomes all about money. That's my problem there. On the athletic high school side, it's that it can't be enforced. And the idea, and I understand why they put it in the policy, that, it's not for recruiting. No. That's what's about to happen. That's what's number one. Because you can't tell me there's not a high school coach out there contacting the local businesses going, look, NIL's allowed now. I can't be involved. Yeah, no collectives aren't involved either. Wink, wink. Can't have those. But help me raise money. Let's get 10 grand together, and I've got 3 kids I want to get. Let's pay those kids. Now the coach is showing favoritism. You can't tell me they're not going to be connected, right? You can't tell me that coach isn't going to somehow be involved, and that somehow the Florida High School Athletic Association is going to be able to manage that. So they can't manage it. They say they're going to, and they'll enforce it. They don't have the manpower, woman power. They don't have it to do it.
Like you said earlier, they don't even have the infrastructure to enforce the rules they have now.
No, that's correct.
The extra stuff they're
that's
building
correct. And I'm not here to bash that entire organization. I think a lot of people have come through the organization successfully. I think that they do the best they can with what they have. Maybe they can't charge more than they can, or whatever monies they have aren't enough. I mean, I know some of the people over in that organization, and they're fantastic people. But the idea that this right here is a good idea, it's not. And I'd imagine there was some back and forth about it. They tried to pass it in the past, or talked about it in the past, and it didn't work out. And now here they are. They're finally doing it. But it's 100% NIL in the state of Florida is a recruiting tool for schools, period. I don't care what the policy says. Well, if we catch them, it ain't going to happen. It's not happening. You're going to do an investigation? You're going to hire somebody? It's not going to happen. And it's going to be widespread and great for the kids and their families who line pockets, because at the end of the day, it's all about one thing: money. That's all this is about. And it hurts a lot of programs too, because I know for a fact schools across this state, predominantly public schools, they rely on ticket sales at games, not to profit, to make ends meet, right? Look at how many public schools in the state of Florida that have dilapidated, nasty gymnasiums, playing surfaces, fields, seating, sharing public infrastructure with other cities to use their fields because they don't already have the money for it. So it's not like they've got the money already, right? This isn't a major league team, pro team, or major college team that brings in millions upon millions of dollars in ticket sales and selling clothes or media rights. They don't have that in high school.
Yeah.
So
there's no equity problem.
Zero.
You know, the whole argument with NIL in college was, you know, these student athletes are bringing in millions and millions of dollars and seeing, you know, nothing of it. But with high school, you know, what are they really bringing in? I mean, not much.
No.
Not much individually.
Nope. And any coaches that listen to this know that other sports, predominantly football and boys basketball, subsidize other sports that don't make money. And that's okay. That's not a problem. That's been known. That's just whether it's your football team subsidizing a baseball program, vice versa, you're all one. We're a team, right? So if we're the Panthers, we're all Panthers, whether it's a football Panther or a basketball Panther. We're all together. So helping each other, that's not a problem. But this NIL thing is going to lead to very, very powerful, strong teams that are totally put together based on money, period.
You got to think the local dollars are going to go to, you know, whoever the next Anthony Edwards in Gainesville, Florida is, whoever the next.
That's correct.
You know, Anthony Richardson is a better example. Instead of, you know, Eastside High School.
Yeah.
You know, the local businesses are going to be much more attracted to the idea of getting their brand name out via someone who could potentially be a professional in their sport 5 years down the line versus, you know, the high school team that won a state championship 10 years ago.
Absolutely. NIL's bad for Florida. Was it well thought out? It's not fair for me to say because I'm not the board members. I'm not the staff. I didn't research this. I just get to come up here and talk about it and what I saw within an hour and a half and go, I don't think so. You can't regulate it. It's not good for the schools. It's a bad idea. And unfortunately, it's what we have now. And so guess what I can do? I don't have to turn off the TV if I don't want to watch because we don't have games on TV. I just don't have to show up and buy a ticket if I don't like it. Sad for the kids. It's sad for the kids and the student athlete. It's sad for them as a whole. The couple that makes some money, that get something out of it financially, I'm sure they're happy, but the rest of them suffer, and that's what's horrible. And the other sports, when you're eating up the money with somebody with NIL and that business would spend money with the whole program, but they see a benefit with this young man or woman in terms of being somebody they can sponsor, has now taken money away from other schools that would other programs within the school that get sponsorship. So I'm not seeing a positive. The only positive I see, which is just the consequence of being a student athlete and getting money, is it's good for their family that they got money from it. Maybe it might be good if they don't understand the tax liability and legal repercussions or the issues that could start with NCAA compliance. Then it's not good for them. I think, and the one thing the FHA talks about is how education is important for this type. Yeah, that's very true. Educate yourself. If your kid's taking money, you need to know what it looks like. Making $150, $200, and it's now tracked. You've got problems. So, not a fan. Not cool. It is what it is. The I Know a Guy podcast. Producer Jake back in the house talking about important stuff.